Everyone, welcome back to another Solo Leveling Arise video. My name is D-Free, and today I have a few tips for you guys that I think that would be really helpful for you in your journey in this game, whether you're a consistently playing player, returning player for the anniversary, or this is your first time checking the game out. I think all of these tips can be helpful. So make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe. And if you really want to help the video and the channel, the best thing you can do is watch the video all the way through. That does help tremendously. YouTube grades based on the watch time and all that stuff. So thank you so much. Subscribe, all that fun stuff. All right. So when it comes down to it, I can tell you a few different things that I think, actually, let's just kind of go ahead and start here. So when you're playing the game, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to pull for characters, but what I'll tell you is, just starting with this, if you don't get a character just outright that you want or whatever, don't worry about it. The reason why is because the characters currently, anyway, I keep on prefacing it because I don't know if we're gonna get a limited character at some point. I assume we will. It's a gacha game, but who knows. But up until now, we haven't had that, and that includes the new anniversary character. The characters, after a month and a half, 2 months, get put over here. So if you ever miss a chance to unlock a character, or maybe you got them but you wanted to get them more dupes in them, because they get exponentially stronger as you put duplicates in them, they do wind up on the custom draw. And so as a side note, the game gives a ton of custom draws, especially early as you're starting the game. You're playing all those story chapters, which, by the way, sub tip, make sure when you're playing the story, you might as well just get all the objectives done so you get all the tickets at once, so you don't have to go back and replay stuff. Don't just take your time with it. Don't blitz through it and not complete it with the objectives that they're asking you for. But the game gives a ton of these. I mean, even right now, for one, just last month, we had a login bonus where they gave literally 100, and then look at it now. We have an event ongoing right now where they are literally giving another 100, right? They give these pretty consistently, and all the characters are added here. So what I'll say is, as another tip, as an offshoot of that, like, obviously don't go crazy if you don't have the white tickets or silver, whatever you want to call them, the red premium gacha tickets, then just wait. It's okay. The game's not going anywhere, right? Especially if you're not super hyper meta competitive. But as a sub note, make sure that you don't go crazy with these. Don't just blow these just because, like, you've got the summon itch. I mean, if you gotta scratch the itch, then go for it. But I would recommend saving until you need something out of this, right? Because I think that's very beneficial. I do think that you can really optimize your results by doing so. And the game will consistently go back to some of these older characters, rework some of these older characters, or provide new releases that add, and also new stages and challenges to add more utility and viability to these characters. For example, Thomas Andre, great character. I think a great designed character, fun character to play as. However, the game, there's not really a ton for you to do with him in the light team right now, but that doesn't mean he's just permanently dead. The game will come back to the light team at some point. Hopefully he's still a part of it, because sometimes they do boot somebody off, but they'll come back to them at some point. But yeah, so don't worry about that if you miss a character. And then on top of that, make sure that you are saving these for whenever new characters are added, and weapons, because the new weapons, the Sung new weapons, get added here as well. Now, the good news is you can just kind of also save this currency, which is separate. It's a little bit more scarce. They don't give it out as much. And the weapons are added here too. But the weapons are never put on this banner as well, so keep that in mind. All right. So outside of that, I want to take a hard pivot to some of the game modes. Now, the game has a lot of different game modes, and we're going to move over to Simulation Gate. But first, I wanted to go ahead and position this to you guys. If you haven't already, make sure you support. We are currently in the ongoing season until the 21st. I can send out, so a week from today, actually, I can send out 1,000 Essence Stones. Do not miss this. Like, this is great. Make sure you do support through the link down below in the description. Also, if you're just support in general, it's nice. But if you're a paying player, we do get a little bit of kickback for that. So if that's another way you wanted to show support, it's greatly appreciated. Linked down below in the description. Go to the page it takes you to. Click the support button, and then on that page, click the 3 lines in the top right corner. Click the My Page button right there under the Netmarble partner. You'll see that. You'll see something different. But click My Page, and then there on the page it takes you to, click the supporter button right in the middle of your screen. It'll show you all the codes that have been sent to you, because I manually come in and send codes out. So give me about a day or so, but you will get it. As long as you don't sign up on the 21st, you will get it. So there's another code as well for Mana Power Extract. But moving to Simulation Gate. So the game's got a lot of modes, and I know it can get kind of a little bit overwhelming, and I myself have had several weeks where I've skipped Simulation Gate. I never ever, like, just maybe just being busy, time constraints, I'm a father, all these other things, it's kind of hard. But I I've never ever skipped like certain content like Power of Destruction. Like, you don't want to skip most of the content if you can. Every now and again I'll forget about Workshop. You shouldn't be doing that really either, and I'll explain why in a minute. But Simulation Gate was the one that was kind of forgettable because they were mainly giving you those books for enhancing your artifacts, which are good. They're good, but they're not like something like crazy insane. You can get them passively by playing every now and again. You can get most of what you need, but they're slick, and they updated all this, and they did several things a few weeks back where they put the selector for blessing stones. Those are incredibly, in fact, I don't think you can get these without buying the selector. I can't show you it because I've already claimed it, but you want to get that. You want to get core stuff here as well, and then also the special player weapon design. So the reason I pivoted here is because when sung weapons come out, two things happen. Firstly, they put a really cheap offer in the shop. If you buy, you can get the weapon for not for free, but for cheap, like $8 or something like that, which is nice actually. But they also have these here, and you can actually craft whatever weapon is added for Sung Jinu. You can craft it with those gold tickets. So make sure you're getting those gold tickets. You don't want to sleep on that. See, like right here, Stormbringer, I've got 6 of these. You need 4. And you could just craft it outright. And if you have a bunch of them, you can craft it a bunch of times, right? So don't sleep on that. Get those gold tickets. You need those for that, for sure. And that's a really nice benefit to have. But again, the red ones are cool too because they let you craft the weapons for the hunters and stuff like that. Those ones are a little bit easier to come by. And then there's other resources here that you would want as it relates to that. And then also the typical stuff that is tied into this game mode. There's also, you know, rewards for first completions. You get a bunch of essence and all that stuff. So you just want to make sure you're not really skipping content if possible, and make sure you're playing the content that's available to you. So I've mainly, like I said, positioned you guys with Simulation Gate, but Power of Destruction, you want to come in here and at least auto it. That's what I typically just do. And I clear all this and I get some decent rankings and I get a bunch of rewards for it. And it's great. You could obviously min-max it if you care to do that. I personally don't. Doesn't really matter. Don't skip that. Guild boss, same thing. You want to go in there and at least complete it so you get the rewards. It does help with the all-out war, all that stuff, and all this content on the right side. You basically want to just participate in. You don't want to be skipping that stuff if possible, because you're just missing out, ultimately, is what I'm trying to say, on a lot of rewards. Even if a mode seems like it's something you can skip, don't, assuming that you have the time. This next one's pretty obvious, I'd say, but I want to just kind of pivot here and talk to you guys about this. So the characters have their own scaling, and this is something that's a little bit interesting because it's something that some games do, some don't, but it can regardless be confusing because the characters all, doesn't matter, have HP, attack, and defense, but they don't all use those stats. For example, everything that Park Boom Shik is going to use is going to be scaling off of the user's defense stat. So his damage is predicated off of the defensive stat. So that means, for the most part, you can forego any sort of investment in terms of artifacts. Like, you don't need artifacts that are giving double attack increases. That literally does next to nothing for him. I say next to because there is one situation where it does matter if you have those, but literally next to nothing. And if it's HP, does some stuff for him because you want more HP overall, but it's not helping his damage, right? And then characters will have the same exact thing as Park here, but maybe they'll have attack, in which case the attack stat actually does matter, right? And of course, defense and HP will matter no matter what for the character survivability. Some characters are going to have HP, as you see here, and again, attack all of a sudden doesn't really matter all that much. So when you're crafting and putting on these artifacts, you need to be matching what the character does. In fact, the game is really good about it. It tells you what stats are recommended along the top there, so that is nice, but you want to make sure you're doing that. And this is another cool little thing that I noticed semi-recently, actually, and I'm sure it's been here for forever, but whenever you're going to put an artifact on a character, and you know, if it's got the recommended stats up here, if the artifact has the recommended stat, you'll see where the stats are listed, defense, additional defense on the right side. You will see a highlight outside of it. You see it like to the right of defense, right before the percentage, it's highlighted a little bit. Additional defense has that as well because they're both stats you should be investing in. Attack, damage reduction, they don't have any of that like outline, like border highlighting thing going on, but those defensive stats do. So that's another quick way, like, so you don't have to go through and like filter, you don't have to like look at all of your stuff one by one and say, okay, does this have exactly what I want? Well, no, this one has 3 highlights. That tells me it's probably one of the better ones, and the game does a better job also of like putting the ones that have more towards the front of your list anyway, based on the sorting option. As you see, this first one has 3 that are really good. It has crit, which is good on basically anybody, and attack, but you don't necessarily want to. If I were to invest in this, I would, and I was investing in for him specifically, I would still consider it, and then just hope that I don't get pluses in attack. Now, I said there is one situation where the attack stat on these characters like him, you kind of want to have, and that is on characters where their weapons or they've got passive skills that are predicated on that. For example, here's something that happens. Not you. So on some of these weapon skills or things like that, they'll have something that says, oh, boost this based on this, right? So right here, it increases the damage of the team member with the highest attack by 1% per 2,000 of Maylin Fisher's max HP. Max damage increase rate is 16%. So you want to have as much HP on Maylin as possible, right? The weapon gives her 5,000. That's nice. That's what she scales off of anyway, so that's going to help her damage. You want her artifacts to have additional HP percentage. However, since the team no longer uses Alicia, this is a little bit of an oversight because Alicia was an attack scaler, so she would be the character by default. The team now uses Seren and Chahin. Both of those characters, neither of them scale off of attack. So what you need to be doing is you need to make sure that while you're investing in Cha, that she has the most attack on your team. Right, so I've got 13-9 on Maylin here, and then Seren's gonna be right here. She's got 11-9, so that's cool. So I need to have Cha above that. It could be literally 14, and that would be good enough. But you need to have Cha as the highest attack stat character on your team because you want Cha to be getting the benefit of that. So sometimes you will need to consider stuff like that. And a little bit of a less extreme situation would be a character like Isol here, where she's got this right here, where it increases the attack, the additional attack of the team member with the highest critical hit rate increases by 300 per 1,000 of her additional attack. It's like literally the same thing except different stats, right? So you want to get this on your damage dealer, which is going to be your Kanai or your Yusu Hyun. You want to get that on them. So what does that mean? You need to make sure that that character has the highest crit rate. Now, crit typically caps at 50%. There is an over crit mechanic where basically the more that you're versing higher content or stronger content, they'll suppress your crit rate, in which case your over 50% number does matter. So like the number beside the 50% of your stat page, that does matter actually. So you don't necessarily need to say, okay, I got 50, we're going to quit, we're done. But anyway, in this case, if you've got a lot of crit on your Gina, you got a lot of crit on, is it Sonya? Gina, whatever the fire, I always get them mixed up. The fire support chick, if you got a lot on Isol here, you need to make sure you got more than that on your damage dealer, which again is UC Hunter Kanai. You need to make sure that that is the case for that character because you want them to be getting that extra attack because they're attack scalers. They're going to do the most damage on your team and they're going to blow stuff up. That's ultimately like some situations where like you need to be paying attention to that, whether it's the artifacts and all that stuff that's going to help you manipulate that, but you need to be watching that stuff. That stuff does matter. So those are some like really quick tips. Some of them are ones that are obvious to players that have played for a while, but I wanted to just make this video to appeal to a lot of players, and I could really spend an hour going over a lot of different tips and things like that I can give you guys. But here's one final one, and this is pretty easy. I'm not even gonna pull up gameplay for it. However, what I'll tell you is that maybe you just never noticed this, but if you're versus a fight, you know how you get the extreme evasion where you just, extreme evade and you're not taking any damage. It slows down around you, right? With characters, like they can also do it too, like Sung does it, but the characters can do it too, of course. Instead of, if you don't have any dashes, you can always trigger like a QTE switch to get the iframes off of that, so you're not taking any damage. Like maybe you don't have the ability to do a dash and you're inside of a red circle because they're about to hit you with like a hard hitting move. Just use your QTE skill, they'll eat that, you're fine, things like that. So just, that's one that I was gonna put in this video, but I was like, but I'll throw it in anyway. So anyway, hope you all enjoyed. Make sure you do support. If you watch the entirety of the video, thank you. I really do appreciate it. It does help tremendously. Need all the help we can get, so thank you so much. And if you guys want to see more tips like this, I actually did a host of videos right before the anniversary started to keep you guys prepared and locked in. They should be on the screen right now, so I don't know what you're waiting for. They'll be right there. Make sure you click them.